The finals is now tied. What are your takeaways from the first two games in Denver of the 2023 finals?
Um, Great games. Great. Both of them were great games. I would have to say, in my opinion, exciting. I'm a defensive guy. I like defense. And if y'all notice, them shits wasn't no 154 to 140 in regulation. It wasn't none of that shit. No. Guys, now these possessions, now everybody's still getting up and down, but these possessions are slowing down. Cats are taking care of this ball more because they know that's how you win in the playoffs. You got to take care of the ball. You could shoot fucking horrendous, but if you take care of that ball 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get that W, especially if you're playing defense. And with both teams, you're seeing great runs. Well, game one, Denver came out, of course, punched them right in the mouth. But Miami, they still tried to bob and weave and fight a little bit, but just fell up short. It was like, for them, it was every shot became the big shot. Like, damn, I gotta hit this shot. And point, I gotta hit this shot, point. But game two, they came out focused, ready, and made it a hell of a game. Jumped out to a good lead, and what happened? Denver came storming back. You had your Jokic. In that third quarter, man, I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna have to admit, y'all, in that third quarter, I thought they was about to run away with that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Denver, because they went on something like a 20 or 20 something to
Both-
2 run, something like that.
Both teams were up by, at one point, near 15 points. Let's just call it round number.
Yeah.
Miami had the first quarter. If you look at the
Yep.
game trends graph, Miami surges out in front. Then Denver gets their own 15-point lead. The graph dips, and they have it in the third quarter. But as soon as the fourth starts, then Miami retakes the lead. So it was counterpunch after counterpunch. I want to continue to probe your experience and knowledge of a defense with the complexity of the Miami Heat in the second half. Every time that they come out of a timeout or after a make, not a miss, but a make, they go into whatever their version of a 2-3 zone is, which is different than a Syracuse 2-3 zone or any other zone you see across the NBA. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out exactly what the hell is going on because I know what a 2-3 zone looks like. And this one is it's just way too fast and scrambled to be considered a true 2-3 zone. I thought for a moment because Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin were at the very top chasing whoever had the ball. I'm like, that's a 1-3-1? Because at the top, I haven't seen a 1-3-1 since middle school. The guy at the very top is supposed to chase the ball around the court almost as if it's a box and one. Then they've got their 3 guards setting up a wall behind the one. It was Duncan Robinson and Max Strus and like Gabe Vincent and or Kyle Lowry per se. They're in the 3 right there, halfway between, always helping, leaving the cross court pass open, but remaining close enough to be able to close out. And then I'm watching the Nuggets, man, try and decipher this in real time. And they're smart enough players to know that, okay, they're running a zone. And Nikola Jokic at times they want to go into their pick and roll action with Jamal Murray because that's where they thrive. And I'm watching Nikola Jokic set screens on air. Like he's just setting screens that not on people because he's realizing that these dudes are in a zone kind of, even though it's not like one. So I am sure throughout your illustrious 2-decade career, you have, let's use the San Antonio Spurs as an example, or some forward thinkers here that are adjusting on the fly. When you're in a game of this magnitude and the crowd is loud and you can't be communicating to people unless you're in a really tight huddle and you see that the Heat are now playing not true man-to-man principles, how do you adjust during a game? You're not calling like run overload because that's what you do against a 2-3 zone. How you only have so many seconds to act, man. You only have 14 seconds left on the shot clock. How do you identify it in real time and then apply the software upgrade?
You got to know it. So just as you said, and they did exactly that. Game 1, they didn't get a chance to set up their defense. Game 2, they had a chance to set up their defense because they made shots. So now Denver has to take the ball out of bounds. So that extra second or 2 or 3, maybe taking the ball out of bounds, bringing it up. Now Miami's back setting it up. So what it is It looks like a 2-3. Like, all right, it's somewhat of an amoeba defense. I first noticed it and heard of it, and I got to give credit to Danny Hurley Sr. From St. Anthony's. He was the first coach that I know that used this, where it's almost like a man matchup that looks like a zone. That's why if you look at a lot of it, when Denver swings that ball and Joker is at that mid post, who's guarding him? Like Kyle Lowry might be guarding him, might be Duncan Robinson guarding him. It's always a guard because it's that back end man. And you just move, it's moving parts. Mm-hmm. And so it's you got to know, like, look, you first of all, when you play in that defense, you got to know all 5 spots, because that's what's going to help your rotation, and that's what's going to make your defense more solid. If you're just used to playing that top left spot in the zone, and you're just worried about that top left wing for the threes, and like, I ain't worried about nothing else down there, then you small-minded. You got to learn all 5 positions when you play in that zone, so you know how to move, because it's ways to beat it with simplicity, and it's all gambles getting to that pass first. You know what I'm saying? If Miami has some taller players at guard, I don't know if Jokic should be getting that ball that much in that paint right there in that mid post. But Miami, yeah, they setting it up. They had a chance to set their D up. They made Denver take tougher shots. It wasn't all a freelance shot. So now, if you think about it, low key, why is Miami playing in this 2-3 amoeba? Because think about it, it's only one shooter for real on Denver, and that's Jamal Murray. He's the only like real bona fide. Like, we can't leave him. We got to double him. He's their best shooter on that team. Now, I'm not saying that the other guys can't make threes, but he's their best shooter on that team. This is where all that analytic shit goes out the window that a lot of people like, because now you got to go with how cats are feeling. So that's why Jamal Murray took that last shot. He was feeling it. He hit 2 out of his last 3 threes. They were coming back. So yeah, we all knew he was going to take it. We know Jokic wasn't going to take it. We knew Jamal Murray was going to take that step back. So with that whole thing being said, yeah, I'm gonna play this zone. They only got one shooter, so I'm gonna play this zone. All right, yeah, Jokic may tear us apart in the middle. Right. He may go ahead and hit some nice passes on some dimes to the wings, but I'll take that. Now it's just not an automatic where Jamal Murray feeling it and it's a heat check and he just coming down launching. Dribble, getting his move, dribble, shot. No, we're gonna put somebody on him, stay on him till he get that ball up.
How do you scramble in the moment or fix communication? Because to me, the Miami Heat, man, have never. I haven't, even when they mess up, when they have an off-ball issue, it's as if they have 10 guys on the floor to make up for it, and there's someone always there to help. But that was not the case for Denver last night, and they left guys on an island by themselves. How do you scramble in the moment or fix it in the huddle when it's clear that our communication is off tonight?
How do you fix it is you got to play. And here's how it got messed up. Because just think, when Duncan Robinson caught fire, and I think he hit maybe 4 or 5 straight buckets or something.
Yeah.
And remember when he came off that wing?
He was beating them off the dribble. You cannot get beat off the dribble. All respect to Duncan Robinson, but if you're getting beat off the dribble by Duncan Robinson, you got bigger issues than just help defense.
Yep. And when he came off, he caught fire. When he came off a lot of them screens, now it's like, okay, both of the guys are going with him, and whoever was the one setting that screen and popping was the recipient of a wide open jump shot. I mean, they just played basic basketball. For it to be on the other end, if you're not hitting shots, it's all right, shit. At some point, we got to make a layup. It's all about that defensive effort. And I can see why Mike Malone was mad, because Denver did. I pointed this issue out to my son. Him and I were watching the game together last night. I said, look at them. When Denver was on that comeback, when Miami was up 15 in that first half comeback, I was like, man, I said, yo, do you see this? He was like, what? I was like, you see this game? He said, yeah, Denver's doing real good. I was like, nah. I said, look at the pace. I said, Denver is moving a whole lot faster than Miami. I said Denver's coming up with all the 50-50 balls. You know, they the ones on the floor first and this and that. And look at all the rebounds. You got like 4 or 5 guys crashing the board for them. I'm like, you don't have that for Miami. I'm like, just look at it. Then he was like, all right, I noticed it. And then I'll be damned if in that second half it flip-flopped. You know, now you got Miami was the aggressive team. You know, they was getting their hands on a couple steals, on a couple passes, getting their hands in the passing lane. You know, and guys going down the other end, you know, making layups, dunks, all that stuff. So that the pace of the game, Miami picked it up. And if Denver would have and still came up short by one shot at the end. But if Denver would have kept that pace going the same way, it would have been a hell of a game. It's still a hell of a series. I'm glad we get a 5th game out of it. I'm liking the way that this series is so far. Why? Real talk.